bit, but plenty to get to here on the show. We'll hear from Rich Stiles, host of the Back Nine Boys Golf Show. Of course, Stuart Sink winning the RBC Heritage, chalking one up for the old guys out there on tour. So he'll join us coming up in hour number 2. Also, Kevin Marshall, host of FCS Radio Nation, will join us as the FCS playoffs begin this weekend. He will join us in the final hour of the show. We'll also hear from home team Brandon Leak in about 15 minutes, Ben, about what should the Falcons do there at number 4. And again, about a week and a couple of days out from the first round of the draft. And you're hearing everything from Kyle Pitts. Maybe you take a lineman. Maybe you do still take a quarterback, trading back. The options are plentiful. And we'll talk with home team about what the Falcons could potentially do there at number 4.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, Kevin. I mean, I know everybody keeps – I mean, it seems to be obviously Trevor Lawrence going to be number 1, Zach Wilson number 2. What does the San Francisco 49ers do with number 3? All signs are pointing to Mac Jones, maybe Trey Lance, when you talk about the fact that he had a second workout and looked real good. And I think that, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan was there. It's going to start at number 4. While I would love to see Kyle Pitts with ATL on his chest, Penei Sewell could be a guy that can be there for 10 years, but gotta trust Terry Fontenot because this team got so many holes on defense. Do you use that 4th pick to try to draft, move back to try to get some more draft picks because you're going to need a lot of help with that D.
Certainly. And speaking of the NFL, obviously a lot of news out there as we get closer to the draft, but the Steelers today extend Mike Tomlin 3-year extension going into his 15th season with the team. 2 times has been in the Super Bowl. One a Super Bowl there has Mike Tomlin, and the Steelers just been that model of consistency. Have not had a losing season since 2013. I think Mike Tomlin's only like the 3rd coach they've had, period. And a classically underrated guy. But is there something to be said for all the talk about, hey, we're chasing this guy and we're unhappy and the fans are, and the message has grown stale. I mean, the Steelers are one of the bedrock franchises in the National Football League. Had 3 coaches. Is there something to be said for that? And could college ADs and NFL owners take notice of that, hey, sticking by your guys sometime isn't the worst thing you could do?
Yes, I mean, the Rooney family does not they definitely not on social media. They definitely not being pressured by what we get pressured by today, and look at how much stability that's brought them. Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, Mike Tomlin. That's it. I mean, the Cleveland Browns have had three coaches in 3 years. I mean, I think when you look at the fact too, Kevin, you know what you're getting. Like, Bill Cowher, they showed him when he was there. He had the Jerome Bettises of the world. He had those guys with the defense and the run game. Then you get a guy like Mike Tomlin. People forget, Mike Tomlin had Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown on the same team, and they still won. Those type of personalities. But it also goes to show you that this is the guy they believe in. I mean, you ain't had, 1 or 2 losing seasons since 2000. That's and shout out to Tony Dungy. I remember when Mike Tomlin was a defensive coordinator, I think, for the Minnesota Vikings, and his name came up. The Rooneys used their rule to get their guy, and it worked out for him. But look at every stable college team that got a chance to win it all. Clemson had the same guy there for a while. Alabama had the same guy there for a while. You see what Georgia's doing by trying to build it, by extending guys like Kirby Smart. You look at Oklahoma. I mean, Lincoln Riley. All Lincoln Riley's gonna do, his name's gonna come up for another coaching gig. He gonna add another $3-4 million a year to his already very, very high price tag. I just think that Kevin, they're not influenced by the powers that be. They ain't letting the fans or losing games or not looking as good as they want to look every other Saturday. And you see, is the proof is in the pudding. Oklahoma just needs to be in the college football playoff. They're not going to win it. Ohio State, they just need the college football playoff. They're not going to win it. But look at the type of coaches they have. So, yeah, if more teams kept the Pittsburgh model, I mean, because people ain't going to talk about this. Marvin Lewis, he was in Cincinnati for a long time. Like, he was there about 14 years too. So, there's something to say about coaches that's been there over a decade. Because, Kevin, outside of those names, you don't really see that no more. Vanderbilt give their coach 6 years. Vandy. So I do think these colleges and universities need to take need to definitely like look at what the Pittsburgh Steelers are doing and show them Patience is a real thing. Patience means overtime, not a limited amount. Now we're going to give you 2 years. To do what? To recruit 2 recruiting classes and get out of here? So, yeah, you look at what Pittsburgh – and look, outside of just that debacle in the playoffs against Cleveland, they was talking about Pittsburgh potentially being an undefeated team last season until it just fell, it just got bad at the end of the year.
Well, Ben, I think certainly a couple of things that come to mind. I mean, is, winning helps. I mean, Mike Tomlin doesn't lose a whole lot in the regular season. I know people criticize him because, well, he doesn't go as far in the playoffs as we think he should, and he this and that. I mean, I think you get caught up in that in college football as well. I mean, people forget, before Clemson got where they were, Dabo Swinney came in of a program that had their name was used as a verb, and it wasn't good. It was used as, hey, you're Clemsoning it again and blowing big leads, and Dabo had to overcome that, and they stuck by him. I think you look at, I know it's a different age and era, but you look back at the Bobby Bowdens, the Joe Paternos. They didn't come out of the gate going 9-1, 10-0. In their early seasons, they had some ups and downs, some ebbs and flows, and eventually got consistently winning and eventually got their programs up to the national championship landscape. I think a lot of times people look at the money, and I guess that's some of it, where they're paying these coaches and say, look, we got to have 8-9 wins now. And we've seen coaches and programs, I think, dump a guy who won 7 games, had kind of maybe a, quote, down year, still not bad. But you stick with those guys, and usually they'll right the ship. You hired them for a reason. They keep winning for a reason, and just had a down year, and you get a little impatient with them. So I think Mike Tomlin, a perfect example of, look, as long as the guy is winning and producing and doing what you need him to do, good things will happen. It may not be every year, but it's going to happen consistently, and the Steelers have been in the playoffs more often than they have not been in the playoffs. I mean, you look at Georgia. Georgia been one of the most stable programs in college football as of late. And since 2000, they've had 2 coaches in 20 years. So that's stability. That's what gets you there. I think if Georgia was in a position like Florida State, we say, look, you can get talent, but you've changed coaches 3 times in 6 years. I'm sorry, I don't care who you are. That's going to be hard to stay where you want to be and get where you want to be when you're having so much turnover. And you look at, I know Jimbo left him in a little bit of a bad situation, but the facts are, even knowing all that, you've still changed coaches 3 times in a couple of years. So it's to me, I don't know why more teams don't look at the Mike Tomlin motto and say, look, is it all about the championship? I don't think so. Is it competing? Yes. Is it staying as a winning program, franchise, what have you? Yes. I think as long as you're doing it, and that's why I think in some cases, you look at a guy like Dan Quinn and say, look, had Dan Quinn won 8 games, 9 games, would he be in that Mike Tomlin argument of like, look, are they underachieving? Maybe, but they're still winning. They're still competing for the playoffs, and there's some things. Well, come on, hop on. I'm just throwing it out there because, again, you're shaking your head, but outside of him not winning the Super Bowl, and that is important, I mean, Dan Quinn had the Falcons as a winning team. But I'm saying, but he didn't do that the last couple of years.
And that's why he lasted as long as he did, right? Is because he did go to the Super Bowl and the Falcons were winning. I think the difference between that, though, is Dan Quinn was a less with more coach in a lot of people's opinions. You have Julio Jones, Matt Ryan, all these players, and you haven't had that breakthrough. You went to the Super Bowl, but like you said, Tomlin won one and went to another one, and they haven't had a losing season since 2003, 17 years ago, or 17 seasons ago. The Falcons are coming off 3 straight losing seasons, so that's the difference. I'm not putting Dan Quinn in Mike Tomlin's category.
Yeah, I'm saying that's why I couched it with, had Dan Quinn won 8-9 games instead of having it the other way, I think the Falcons would have stuck with him as the head coach, and Mike Tomlin hasn't had that. And despite the fact that certain times Pittsburgh fans get frustrated with,
never had a losing season as a
I know,
coach.
yeah, I'm saying, but Pittsburgh fans still get frustrated. Like, man, come on, Mike Tomlin, why can't we get another Super Bowl out? I mean, I know Tom Brady makes it look easy, but it's not.
He's the reason.
I know, but
right?
it's not. But it's not easy.
But you yell at Kirby Smart, right? And you say, like, why hasn't Kirby Smart won a national championship yet? Well, you got to get past Alabama first. Is everybody in the AFC for the past 20 years, it was, well, why can't you win a Super Bowl? What does it do? We're in 12 in New England.
Sure.
That's pretty tough to get by. So I think that has a lot to do with it. But this has been now their 3rd coach in the history of the franchise, Ben?
Yeah, it's only Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and now you got Mike Tomlin. But another thing too, I mean, you give a lot of credit. You got the same quarterback. I mean, Bill Cowher is the one that was there when Ben Roethlisberger was there, and he's still there now. When you look at the fact that people might like it, dislike it, you got to have certain things that stick together.
You talk about a local tie with that. For all the fans clamoring to get rid of Matt Ryan, you know what comes with that? Risk that the dude you take isn't good. Like, that's what comes with it. And that's what happens in the NFL all the time with quarterbacks and coaches is grass is always greener until it's not. And then all of a sudden you're in a 3-year cycle where every 3 years you're firing somebody and getting a new quarterback and your team's missing the playoffs every year. I'd rather be slow and steady, like you said, and always in the conversation every single year.
Absolutely. That the hardest thing with anything to do is the sustainability. I mean, I don't care. Anybody can look good for a season, maybe a season or two. That's why when you start talking about like great players, it ain't the Pro Bowls, it ain't even Super Bowls, it's the All Pros. That means you were the best player in the league at your position, 2 or 3 years, on an elongated career. When you look at Mike Tomlin, everybody did not like that hire when he got there, but he understood. Dude, Pittsburgh, you cannot hide. No one cares what goes on in Cincinnati. No one cares what goes on in Detroit and places like Tennessee and Jacksonville and Carolina. There are a lot of teams, they just have teams in that city. That's it. They don't care about what goes on. When Pittsburgh loses, everybody's talking about it. I mean, Pittsburgh got fans like the Dallas Cowboys. The only problem is one fan base is actually rooting for something. The other fan base is just big. And I'm just talking about Dallas.
But even when they go 8-8, you're not hearing the people on NFL Network, on ESPN saying, is Mike Tomlin on the hot seat? Because they know, they're like, that franchise is stable. And if something's wrong, Mike Tomlin's going to get a chance to fix it. And they know that. And I think that helps you get free agents. I think that helps you keep coaches on your staff. And I think that keeps the fan base engaged because they know we're going to be stable and we're going to have a product out there that we can root for.
Yeah. Terry Bradshaw won 4 Super Bowls, with Chuck Noll. Those guys were the truth. Lynn Swann, Star working those guys. Then you bring in Ben Roethlisberger and Jerome Bettis. And you got Kiesel and those guys. And you got James Harrison and Troy Polamalu. I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers got a lot of tradition, and Mike Tomlin is deeply enriched in that tradition. He did not crash the Ferrari. Black and yellow.
Well, I'm not trying to take shots at any coaches here, but it's like, as a college football fan, would you rather be LSU and have the dream season, or would you rather be Clemson? And you have the same amount of national championships the past few years, but one team's
also
always
to the playoffs.
One team's always there. The other team had one peak season, and the rest have kind of been meh.
Yeah, but the thing is, too, I want both. I mean, because Clemson is in a situation.
We all want both.
But what I'm saying is, Christian, if LSU is in the ACC and Clemson is over there with in the SEC West, if you LSU, that's about the best you can hope for. You're gonna have a dream season when we find a way because they beat Alabama the first time in 7-8 years. Like so the whole thing about it is, I mean, that immovable object is the Tuscaloosa, and it ain't going nowhere soon because. Marcus Spears got recruited by Saban was at LSU there, and they were driving in the car, and Marcus Spears asked Saban, "Man, don't you get tired of it?" And then Saban said, "Tired of what? Winning?" And he looked at him like, "What you mean? No, I do not get tired of this. I just think that stability is hard. Sustainability is even harder." And for those that it's working for, it's working for. Y'all need to quit listening. Listen, I went to the Mike Tomlin head talk.
There's a real good chance you end up like Florida State, where all of a sudden you've gone through 3 coaches.
Oh yeah. No. But you said it, Christian. Look, the only thing that's new about a new thing is that's it. It's new. You don't know what it's gonna be and all this. It's like this. Me and Kevin both got a truck, right? I bet you my truck gets more service. I got to go do more service on mine than Kevin's, and Kevin's is older than mine. Just because mine is newer doesn't mean it's better. No, Kevin.
Somebody was out in the back doing surgery on it a couple weeks ago.
Listen. This is the thing, though. If Kevin's truck is messed up, Kevin, oh, yeah, I know what that is. Mine, if I don't get a notification to my phone, I don't know what's going on with my truck.
We've got a lot of good stuff happening in the NFL. We'll talk with home team Brandon Leak when we come back. Falcons sit at number 4. I still think that's where the draft kind of begins. What are they going to do? We've heard everything from quarterback, tight end, tackle. Home team Brandon Leak will help us figure it out when we come back. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Oh, great to be here on this Tuesday. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop, glad you're with us all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Falcons sitting there at number 4 in a advantageous spot in the draft, a little more than a week away from having to make that pick or trade out. And joining us here to give some insight as to what the Falcons are thinking here a week out, the co-host of the Home Team in Hamilton show there in Atlanta. Home Team Brandon Leak joins us here on 3 and Out. Home Team, welcome. How are you?
Gentlemen, how you guys doing?
Hey, we are fantastic. I want to ask you right off the bat, just not what you think they'll do or anything like that, but if the following phrase happens, with the number 4 pick, the Atlanta Falcons pick blank, what will send you to the cabinet and diving in early if it comes up a certain way?
Well, really, it's not a position, but it would send me to the cabinet. My cabinet app give in with my beverages.
Yes.
If they took Mac Jones, as much as I like Mac Jones, don't overthink things. Make sure your board is in order. Make sure that your scouting is complete. Make sure you do the right thing. And, you know, I'm in the minority right now. I would really like the Falcons to pick at 4. I just feel like in our lifetimes, we should not see the Falcons win 4 games in the season ever again. So the fact that you've lost so many games, just pick the best player is my initial thought, and then move forward. You still get a draft next year and the year after that and forever. And then you have free agency next year and the year after. But the overwhelming majority of reports and what people are feeling is that the Falcons should trade back, that one person won't be a savior, and that you could probably pick up maybe 2 players in the first or second round that could benefit the franchise for a long time to come.
And Brandon, obviously, the draft is definitely going to start at number 4. It's really, really going to depend on what San Francisco does at number 3. But I know that, you know, you hear Kyle Pitts. You know, you hear if Justin Fields is there or Trey Lance is there. But we a couple of drafts removed from the Falcons taking 2 offensive linemen in the first round that up until now you don't know how much those guys have gelled. Penei Sewell is a play and plug guy. I mean, he can play on the right. He's definitely a left tackle for the next 10 years. Why not just get Penei Sewell, protect Matty Ice for the next 2 years, and as you mentioned, try to build around that defense with the rest of those draft picks?
Yeah, that's not crazy talk, Ben. I think, you know, if you got Penei Sewell, one of the things that came out when he got his measurements, he's not as tall and his arms are not as long as people thought. So the question would be, can he be an elite level tackle later down the line with maybe some shorter arms? That being said, to your point, you could plug him in right now and play guard, and you still have Jake Matthews, who's still been a pretty good left tackle. To your point, you just drafted 2 guys in the first round on the right side a couple of years ago. So now your only question is, you know, Matt Hennessy, is he going to be good enough now that Alex Mack is gone to be the center, to kind of be the kernel of the offensive line, if you will, and then just move forward? I mean, the Falcons are in such despair that they could pick an offensive lineman, they could pick a defensive back, they could pick a quarterback. They could trade out and get maybe a defensive back and a running back. They are in such disarray, and there's so much that hasn't worked right with this franchise for the last few years via the draft. It's really hard for the Falcons to mess this up. You might not get what you want personally, all of us individually as Falcon fans, but ultimately it'll be really hard for the Falcons not to come out of here with, 1, something that they really need, and 2, somebody they really want.
And again, I know fans get nervous when you say they can't screw this up. I've said that on the show, and I have folks looking at me like I was like, don't say that about Atlanta sports team. They can't screw it up in the draft. But as you said, if this thing Home Team goes, you know, quarterback 1, 2, 3, I mean, essentially the Falcons have the first pick in the draft, right, of any non-quarterback on the whole board.
Yeah, and the question will be, you know, could they be the 4th team to take a quarterback? Starting to hear some things, and, you know, there's some reports already out that Trey Lance now has popped up on the radar, and it might be a pick at the selection that clearly right now Trey Lance is not ready to start and take over. And who knows after 1 year if he'll be ready to do that, and especially with Matt Ryan's contract. If you did take a quarterback, you're probably thinking 2 years out anyway. But if you could get a guy in with the coach that's going to be here 2 years from now, the offensive linemen are going to be 2 years from now, Calvin Ridley that'll be here 2 years from now, and whoever you drafted running back will be 2 years from now. Is that a bad pick? And is it out of the question that the Falcons would take a quarterback or Trey Lance if it is a name at 4, wait it out for 2 years, and then let Arthur Smith make the determination 2 years from now while he has a veteran quarterback in Matt Ryan and some veteran players on his offense that'll help him do the things he would like to do.
And Brandon, because we know that Matty Ice is going to be here for the next 2 years, that guarantee Arthur Smith, a little bit more leeway for the simple fact that every single head coach and GM is usually tied to a quarterback in the draft, not the quarterback they inherit, even if it is a former regular season MVP like Matty Ice. So do that gives them 2 years to kind of get things going? And second question, Rich McKay. I mean, I know that Terry Fontenot came over from New Orleans. Is Rich McKay going to let him just go out there and make decisions and leave him alone, or is this going to be like a group decision?
Well, I think, patience is something that everybody is going to just have to deal with. The salary cap situation, waiting on players to develop, waiting to see what happens with the NFC South with transition and quarterback with Tom Brady coming in and staying down that he got an extra year, and Jameis Winston taking over in New Orleans, and now, Sam Darnold in Carolina. There's been a great change coming to the NFC South. And I think the other thing, Terry Fontenot and those guys, it's just a different setup here in Atlanta. They went all in the last few years because they thought they had a Super Bowl team and they had a Super Bowl winning quarterback and a Super Bowl winning coach. And so some of the decisions they made in New Orleans were based on the fact they knew Drew Brees' days were coming to an end, and they knew that they had a chance to win. And they went to the playoffs, 4 years, and they got to a championship game at home, and it just didn't work out. So I think patience from Terry Fontenot, patience for the fan base and the selections, and everybody you draft isn't going to work out either. Because the Falcons have a bunch of picks, you got to figure half of them won't work out 3-5 years from now, and they have to find a way to get through that as well. So I just think patience from the coach and patience from Terry Fontenot, and for Terry Fontenot, it's just going to be somewhat required of everybody to hopefully get what they want, which is a better product and a winning franchise for the Falcons.
Home team Brandon Leak joining us here on 3 and Out. Home team, if let's say the Falcons stay there and do make a pick at number 4, what is their mind go to there? Because they're number 4 in the second round as well. What should be their priority there as they get to day 2 of the draft?
I just think you need to take the best player. So if you don't think you're going to have the best player in quarterback in 2 years, then don't take a quarterback. Take Penei Sewell. If you think he's going to be an elite offensive lineman, somebody going to Pro Bowl, somebody who might have the DNA to be a Hall of Famer, take him. If you don't believe in Penei Sewell and you're looking for a playmaker, and Arthur Smith is a guy who started, at Tennessee as a tight ends coach, and he loves throwing to the tight ends, and he threw to the tight ends twice as much as the Falcons did last year, then take Kyle Pitts, because down the road, if this guy turns out to be Travis Kelce, you might have the best player coming out of the top 10 picks. So my position is take the best player. A lot of people say trade back, go to Jimmy Johnson's draft chart. I say take the best player. And you know what? If I'm outvoted and they do trade back, then get the best 2 players. If you end up with a couple of first rounders, maybe you could get Patrick Surtain and Asante Samuel Jr. pie in the sky if you trade back close enough. So take the best player after losing so many games. It's just a position that I'm not going to move over from.
Now, I do like that trading back, being able to get 2 guys in the secondary, but I take a different approach, Brandon, when I think about the quarterback situation. I think it's the, I just think that when you look at what's going on now in the NFL, it's okay, if my starter goes out, do we still have a shot to make it to the playoffs? That's why I think Atlanta can get a quarterback, not Mac Jones. I do agree, not Mac Jones, but if Justin Fields is there or Trey Lance is there, you get those guys, because it's a very slim if, because Matty Ice don't get hurt a lot, but if he does, you want to still be able to have the rest of your season to look forward to instead of just throwing it in. That's why I think if Justin Fields or Trey Lance is there, you get him at 4, because I do agree. Mac Jones had the best players on the best team in the best conference. That will not be the case if he does indeed go number 4 to Atlanta.
I think I agree with you as far as having a backup quarterback. I don't know if the draft is the place to go get that. Honestly, with all the upside for Zach Wilson and for Justin Fields, there's no guarantee if Justin Fields gets drafted, by the 49ers, he'll play right immediately. That a lot of these quarterbacks, with the exception of Trevor Lawrence, won't be playing their first years. Maybe Zach Wilson, if he goes, to the Jets, they need clearly a quarterback, but I don't think you use a draft for Matt Ryan's backup. You use the draft at quarterback for Matt Ryan's replacement and heir apparent. And you can get some things done with Teddy Bridgewater. You can get some things done with Ryan Fitzpatrick. around the league if your starting quarterback goes down. Tyrod Taylor if your quarterback goes down. But the bottom line is the draft is supposed to be the DNA and the bones of your organization, and the Falcons need to recode their DNA. And hopefully, if they take a quarterback, it's because they think it's the person that'll help them win a Super Bowl. And I think that's ultimately what the draft is for. Starting those pieces where you don't have to worry about money and contracts. You can just worry about whether or not your scouting department really wants somebody to help you get into a place where you can win a Super Bowl.
Home team, Brandon Leak, our guest here on 3 and Out Home Team. Always a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Anytime, guys.
Appreciate it. Home team, Brandon Leak, co-host of Home Team in Hamilton, joining us here all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. An interesting idea potentially for college football that has been not been floated around, but hypothesized on the social medias or on the internet. We'll get to that next. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network.
No.
Good to have you here on this Tuesday. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop, glad you're with us all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. We'll hear from Rich Stiles, host of the Back Nine Boys Golf Show, coming up next hour. Also, Kevin Marshall, host of FCS Radio Nation. The FCS playoff starting this weekend. He'll join us coming up at the top of the final hour. But Christian, a correlation for college football from soccer? Is that what we're talking about here?
I know you and Ben just massive soccer fans,
Huge.
so I wanted to get in on this. But no, I mean, it's been the biggest news around the sports world the past 24 hours or so. Yesterday, a bunch of European clubs announcing, like elite European clubs announcing that they were going to start their own Super League. And that's not like people joking, like literally they're going to call it the Super League in Europe. It was going to be 12 teams plus an additional 3 invited teams every year that they were going to play in their domestic leagues and then go off and break away from what is called the UEFA Champions League, which if you don't know, and I'm assuming you don't because you could care less about soccer.
That's right.
Every year throughout Europe in the domestic league, so the English Premier League, right? You have leagues in Spain, you have leagues in Germany, you have leagues in Italy. All of those leagues, you took the top teams from the year before and they would make it to the Champions League. Right, where you go on and you play on this international stage, and then you have the champion of the world basically in club soccer. You're the best club in the world, right? These 12 teams, and they're huge teams: Manchester United, Juventus, Real Madrid, Barcelona. You had AC Milan in there, Arsenal, Tottenham, Man City, just massive, hugely financially huge, and followed by billions of people worldwide. Right? They decided they were going to separate from the Champions League, from UEFA, and start their own, which when you think about it, what's the biggest reason behind that? You control everything. You control the money, and there's 0% chance you ever miss out, right? There's years when Leicester City pops up and wins the English Premier League, and teams like Chelsea, teams like Manchester United, teams like Man City don't make it, right? And so basically by doing this, you're saying we still want to play in our domestic league, but we're going to guarantee ourselves a spot in a hugely profitable, our own Champions League every single year. And what that was going to do to the rest of soccer was going to be financially devastating, because you were basically saying, you guys are Azrans, you don't matter. We're going to play you just because we need games, and then we're going to go do our own championship that you're not invited to. There's 0%, zero way you can get into, right? That, I think, correlates back to what the idea a lot of people proposed in college football is, which is the teams that win 90% of the games they play all the time, the Alabamas, the Clemsons, the Floridas, the Oklahomas, the Georgias, should break off and just create their own 20-team league, right? Just create your own thing, have your own championship. Don't worry about everybody else. If you still need to play us, it's fine, but you have your own champion, and then we'll crown from the other 110 teams in college football our own champion. The feedback and the uprising that it caused in Europe, I don't even think people realized how big it was going to be. Like there were fans screaming at players as they were walking onto the field last night for games, screaming at coaches. A couple of the heads of some of the biggest sports teams in the world have had to step down over this because now they're reversing their decisions. And I think, Kevin, what people need to notice who are supporting this idea of pulling the top 20 teams out of college football and having them create their own league, what makes you the top 20 team in college football? It's that you're inside of college football. It's that you play these teams, and do you beat them 90% of the time? Sure, but every now and then Kentucky beats Florida, right? It's that chance. It's that pageantry. It's that, sure, Georgia Tech's down against Georgia right now, but there was a time when that was reversed. And you're not the University of Florida without the SEC in college football. That's just, you're not the same thing when you pull it out and make it something else. So basically what they were doing was saying, hey, I'm Alabama. Even if I don't win the SEC championship, I'm going to have my own national championship that I get to play for. College football playoff doesn't matter to us. That's what they
you
were
basically
saying.
already have that scenario
No,
you
you
described as the college football playoff.
No. But what you have now is if Kentucky goes through, and this is the same thing too, right? Is you say the facilities aren't fair to compare these teams to with Kentucky to Alabama, right? There's zero comparison. Well, there's zero comparison to how much money Real Madrid or Manchester United spend every year on players to what Leicester City can spend. And Leicester City won the EPL and went to the Champions League, right? So there is a chance at the beginning of the year that Kentucky, and this happened a couple years ago, so don't say no. Kentucky was playing for an SEC East championship in their final SEC game a couple years ago. right? Like there's always a chance somebody can sneak up. And do I support expanding it? Sure. There's a lot more teams that play in the Champions League than play in the college football playoff, but that's not the conversation I'm having. The conversation I'm having is if you split those top teams off, you're just hurting both parties, right? College football with the other 110 teams would become much less valuable. You would lose namesakes throughout it. But it just in my mind, you don't have the same pageantry and you don't have the same sport if you pull Alabama, Texas, Oklahoma, put them together, because you're not playing Kansas State. You're not playing UCLA. You're not playing these teams. And my other point would be, what makes a big game a big game? Because that's basically what the Super League thought is. If I have Real Madrid, Man City, every single game, that people are going to want to watch that, because that's basically, I have Alabama, Clemson every game, right? Like people are going to want to watch this every time. It would get redundant. What makes a big game is you can see it out on the calendar, or you have a team that all of a sudden got hot and is really good, and you have two undefeated teams going off against each other towards the end of a season. It's not the names of the teams. It's the buildup. It's the season surrounding it. It's the consequence of it. And if there's no consequence for you and you know you're going to go to the championship regardless, is that really a big game?
Well, it's
just need to pay attention to what's happening now and the feedback from the fans, even of the teams who are going to go to the Super League.
Well, I mean, and the whole thing about it is too. I mean, okay, we blessed enough to do radio every day, right? Podcasting is real big right now, right? And people that got a podcast think I could do radio every day. It's not the same thing, because somebody will go, okay, how did your podcast get popular? No, where did you start out to do a pod? Oh, I used to be over. So they knew you from over here to draw in those fans to this. But doing it every day is not the same thing. So I do understand what you're saying, Christian. But it's another thing too. Infrastructure is a beautiful thing. If it's already set, that's the difference. Hey man, like I've never built a house before. Won't do it. But I had a friend that built the house. He had the money to do it. He ended up paying for 2 homes trying to build one. Why? Because he didn't understand how much really went into it. Hey man, I know we're gonna say it'll be a month, it's gonna be 2 months. When I saw the super team thing, it sounds good in concept, but you're gonna lose a big part of your audience because you got to get TV money. You got the broadcast these things. Like if they say, hey, guess what? Clemson and Alabama all year long this year. Like what every
honest
day.
Question, Ben. Honest question. Say Florida goes to 8 games because they're in an 8-game SEC schedule. They go to an 8-game SEC schedule. They play that through, but there's no consequences. They know that they're going to play in a non-NCAA regulated different postseason every year. They're not even going to go to the college football playoff. They're saying we're better than that. So they know at the end of the year, they're going to go to this separate tournament and play in that. And they're going to call themselves champions if they win that one. I don't know about you, and I'm the biggest Georgia fan you'll meet. If Georgia split off and went to a different version of college football, that's not the same thing. I'm not rooting for the same thing.
But that's the thing. It's not the same thing. And okay, let's just take it. Let's just call it what it was. UCF said they won the Natty, right? And NCAA recognized it. Why did the NCAA do that? That's a feel-good moment, right? It's not the same thing for the simple fact that if I know what the ending is, it's like this. It's like watching a movie. I know what the ending is. But I'm still trying to act like I don't know what's going to happen in this scene. It's not the same thing. It's like what Kevin says. I give both. Yes, the players are a part of this thing, right? But the University of Florida, Georgia, they're in a conference. So if they break out from it, you lose that. Ain't no more, man. We used to be in the SEC, man. Now it
would be the SEC just for nothing,
right?
Exactly. And
mad.
Great. Listen, there are certain things that are outdated. This is not one of them. Like breaking off because you break away to do something better.
I don't think these billionaire owners accounted for is, again, the love and the passion that people have behind your sport, or the fact that all of these soccer clubs in England and around Europe were literally clubs, right? It was dock workers. It was miners. It was people who worked in and around these cities that started athletic clubs. And so literally you have stadiums in the middle of neighborhoods over there, and that's what you built up. And so it's not just a team, it's a city, right? And so when these billionaire owners are just coming and making an investment and just want to make it as profitable as possible, they don't necessarily realize that. And it'll be the same thing in college football, right? You're the University of Alabama, you're the University of Georgia, Kevin, because you've played in the SEC and you've built that history and you've played these historic rivalries. The University of Georgia is a concept, right? Like it's Georgia, Georgia Tech, it's Georgia, Florida. It's all of these different rivalries, historic players. It's not the name on the side of the helmet.
Yeah, I mean, I understand I certainly understand what you're saying. I mean, you put it into theorem and you would say, hey, we're going to play a whole college football season. You'll still have the ACC championship, SEC championship, but instead of the playoffs, the teams that did the best going, Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State, Clemson, Georgia, LSU, Southern Cal,
regardless of their
Texas,
season.
Oklahoma, regardless of what they did, we're just going to play anyways. I mean, then the real season would start when they played in that. I mean, that's you kind of basically relegate the other people's games to preseason games that, and then the real, I mean,
that don't matter, right?
Right. You would make the bigger thing the thing, I think,
Yeah.
was what would happen, and then the rest would just kind of be, it is what it is.
And again,
nobody can keep up with that. Like nobody would be able to keep up with that. Because the whole thing about it, like it's almost like we can explain what happens in the season right now. We know what teams are going to be good. We know what teams can't lose. We know what teams can afford a loss. If it starts getting to the point to where it doesn't matter, like this right here, it doesn't matter. It's what's coming that matters. Like what?
Yeah. I guess summarizing, because I know we got to go to break, but I guess summarizing, my thought is, Manchester United isn't Manchester United without playing Leeds, without playing West Ham, without playing Chelsea, right? Well, they still be playing Chelsea, but it's not without playing those games. Georgia football isn't Georgia football, in my opinion, without playing Tennessee, Auburn, Florida, in the SEC championship if they make it there, right? It's not the same thing. It's not the same pageantry. It's not what we love. It's how much money can we squeeze out of this and give you what you think is the best game, but on losing out on what the actual heart of the sport is.
Well, yeah, like if Ohio State would have beat Alabama this year, you know what they said? Well, y'all only played 7 games to get there. Like they would have gave them that the love, but yeah, I'm just happy that people are see how everybody wanted to do it. Now they're getting out.
We got to step aside. We're up against it. We'll come back with more 3 and Outs on the Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you here on Three and Out on this Tuesday afternoon, leading up towards Braves and Yankees from the Bronx. A little bit later tonight, we'll hear from Rich Stiles, host of the Back Nine Boys Golf Show next hour. Also, Kevin Marshall, host of FCS Radio Nation, in the final hour of the show as well. But Ben, quickly, we got like a minute left. Happy birthday to your former coach, the head ball coach, Steve Spurrier, 76 today. Got it done at a huge level in college football. Was exciting guy to watch in the AAF as long as it was around, and one of the best trash talkers in college football ever, right?
He is, and I think the thing about Coach Spurrier that you can't say enough about is his staying power, Kevin. I think when he started coaching in the '90s, went well up into the the late 2000s, like the early 2000s, 2012 and 13, and he's a guy that just, to me, always found a way to resonate with every player he recruited and every coach that coached under him. Never ever talked about winning, but look, he's 76 years young. I think he got a new restaurant in Gainesville now, giving him some free plugs right now. But I'm blessed to be able to say I got recruited by the man. He's a media darling, and if you ever went to Tennessee or Florida State, or Georgia, you cannot stand him.
Don't wish him a happy birthday then if you were at the school. But no, happy birthday to Steve Spurrier, 76 today. We'll come back. Much more to come. We'll take three around the corner. Rich Stiles, Back Nine Boys Golf Show, will join us. Talk about the Stuart Sink winning the RBC Heritage, 47 years old, taking home a PGA Tour Event Championship. He'll join us next hour. It's Three and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you here, 3 and Out, all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin, BJ, and Ben, glad you're with us here for hour 2 on this Tuesday, leading up towards Braves and Yankees. A little bit later tonight, again, earlier, first pitch in Yankee Stadium tonight. No Acuna in the lineup, and you do have the DH in effect for Charlie Morton in his start tonight. Yankees have gotten off to a horrendous start themselves, so it could be an interesting 2-game series there in Atlanta. We'll have pregame coverage starting at 5:20 this afternoon. But it is 4 o'clock. Let's take 3 here on 3 and Out. All right, fellas, take 1. I believe Steph Curry just tied or broke the record for most 30-point games in a row in the NBA. Should Steph Curry be the current favorite for MVP?
There's a good argument. I mean, the way he's playing right now, Kevin, I mean, I absolutely. I think the way he's playing, he's right there. I think probably Joel Embiid is another guy that deserves consideration with the way he's played and kind of the comprehensive way he plays basketball, the impact he has. And I think Jokic with the Nuggets, you have to continue to still look at and value and appreciate. I know he's really high in all the efficiency ratings on those lists, but yeah, what Steph is doing is incredibly impressive. We'll see kind of where Golden State finishes in the standings. That might matter when you talk about MVP and kind of, is your team able to contend? Is your team able to be in the postseason, or is your team really struggling? But absolutely, he has played his way to the front of the conversation.
I mean, I have seen Joel Embiid go. I mean, Kevin, I know that's one of your favorite players of all time, Joel Embiid, out there making it happen. I mean, he calls himself the unguardable force in the NBA right now. But BJ, like I said, when I think about what Steph Curry is doing and what he's having to overcome, if I'm not mistaken, I think Wiseman is out for the rest of the year. I mean, obviously Clay is missing the season because of the Achilles tear. He's putting the team on his back, and he's giving every single thing he's got. He's doing it at a historic level, but he's reestablished himself as not just the greatest shooter we've ever seen of all time, but one of the greatest players that ever come through, the National Basketball Association of all time. I love what Joel Embiid is doing. I think he's the guy that when he wants to be, I mean, he can go out there and make it happen on both ends of the floor. But Steph, I mean, he's making it look so easy with the way in which he's doing it, and he's not 6'9", 6'10", even 6'5" for that matter, doing it 6'2", 6'3". I mean, still going out there making it happen. So for me, I love what Joel Embiid is doing, but for me, I am going to go with Steph.
All right, moving along to take 2. Obviously, we have gotten some good starts, some good streaks, and just in sports in general. Take 2, do you get nervous about messing with hot streaks, i.e. Pablo Sandoval's done well in his role coming off the bench, and now he's going to DH and play maybe a little bit more. Do you get worried about messing with those kind of things?
Yes and no. I don't know, because Kevin, as you know, I get caught up in the stats, right? And I look at when the market correction is going to come. So if you have a pinch hitter that's hitting 400 versus a pinch hitter that's hitting 175, who's more likely to get a hit in their next at bat? If you believe that everybody's going to come kind of close back to the mean, and you don't think that your hitter is going to be Ted Williams and hit 400, or you don't think that your guy that's hitting 175 is going to finish the year below the Mendoza line. So I always struggle with these decisions. I do think even if it defies the math a little bit, it makes sense to go with the hot hand. And if you have a guy that's playing well, get him in there. And I think part of that, I mean, Ben, you can speak to this, but I think part of that is sports is confidence-based, right? When you're feeling good, I mean, that's why you see basketball players, they'll miss 7-8 shots in a row, make 7-8 shots in a row. Baseball, you'll go 0 for 20 and then go, 8 for your next 15. So I think the confidence angle, the psychology angle of it maybe lends itself to, hey, in a short-term capacity, go with the hot hand and kind of try to maximize that streaking play, so to speak. But yeah, it's very tricky. It's a tricky situation.
I don't think it's that tricky, because baseball, you get a chance to kind of mess around with what you want to do with players, as far as like when they come in and hit in and out of the lineup and things of that nature. And Kevin, got to do something. I mean, when you think about this lineup, I mean, it has not been getting it done. I mean, the fact that Pablo can't even come off the bench. Hey, Pablo, you starting. Why? Have you seen us? And to me, that's just a sign of Pablo knows this is not going to be the rest of the season. Pablo, every day, am I up? Yes. You are starting again. I think that you ride the high hand until he starts, getting back to his normal self, and you let him come off the bench again. But you're trying to find a spark. I mean, this is This is half of what Pablo is doing, and the other half is the fact that Ronald Acuna is not going to be there for a couple of games. You're trying to find some type of spark, and Pablo, unfortunately, you was a spark. It was you and you were playing Batman is going to be hurt right now. You're going to have to just go out there and do your best Batman impersonation. But yeah, Kevin, as long as it's saying this is going to be the lineup for the rest of the year, then I'll get nervous.
No,
this is going to be
the question is just really more: are you guys superstitious in sports about it? About when things are going forward, you mess with it?
Of course, I'm superstitious in sports.
I'm
I'm going to tell you why, Kevin. Kevin, you are. You just don't know you are. I'm gonna tell you why. No. You're not eating the same meal, or you're not sitting in the same thing. But it's the thing. You don't even know you're doing something you done when the team start winning. You be like, "It's like Kevin, man. You was growing your mustache out. That's a lie. You cut it, and they lost. Even if it was a little peach fuzz. We all have that little thing because that's what we do, Kevin. We blame it on us. Did I do something? Did I say something too negative about him? I'm not that ritual superstitious person. I'm not that, I got to go eat at this place at this time every Thursday. I'm not doing that. But BJ coming in here with the baby face, he wearing Jaguar stuff. BJ, what's going on with you? Because it was laundry day all year in 2020.
Hey, we're gonna be better this season. What
does better mean? Better means one game better.
Yeah. Well, I will be very surprised if Jacksonville wins one game. That's my prediction.
Jeez.
We've gone off the rails on that question in a big way. Let's move along. Take 3. Joe Buck, apparently, I guess Joe Buck is like the go-to for everything. It will be the guest host for Jeopardy this week, trying out for the permanent job. Who do you think, if you got to pick, would be the best person to host Jeopardy?
Yeah, and you guys were telling me about kind of the interim rotation you've had, and I think you've had some really good hosts. To me, I think it's somebody that has kind of a blank stare humor to them, right? Somebody that can kind of make you laugh with just facial expressions. Maybe you have the one-liners in there, and you don't do a ton of back and forth with the contestants per se, but I kind of think Aaron Rodgers is sort of funny, just his personality and just the way his delivery kind of works. I think it's a different style. I know some people have been kind of hot and cold on the reviews with Aaron Rodgers, but I think that would be interesting. I think maybe Rodgers. I'll go with him.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers he did, but you got to have that dry humor. I'm going off of guys that I've seen host awards shows. I mean, I've seen Jamie Foxx. He's too funny. I've seen Drake.
You got to look him in the face and go, "Ooh, no."
For me, I mean, okay, maybe like a Justin Timberlake. I mean, because he can ask the questions, he can provide a little bit of humor. He has some personality to him, Kevin. Because the whole thing about it is this: people's like, "Listen, man, you're gonna want to get somebody older." No, you don't. You're going to want to get somebody who's like, late 30s, early 40s, young enough to deal with pop culture, but old enough to not indulge too much. Give me a guy like Justin. Kevin, who are you thinking?
I'm telling you, you need, first of all, as somebody who does this, you need a guy who can pronounce all the words for the questions. I was at Alex Trebek. He's like, no, you said something of that. Not like, hey, he knew how to roll it right off. You got to be able to do that. And you got to have at least a little personality, and you got to be able to look somebody in the face and go, "Sorry, dude, you just lost $8,000 because you couldn't answer that question." The end. I think, who is it? A lot of people suggested LeVar Burton has a little bit of personality, but did a show has to be. So I think there's someone like Ken Jennings, a little dry. Katie Couric, a little dry. Katie Couric was like, "Oh, I'm sorry." No, but it was like no personality. I'd rather had a robot. You know how I am Christian about robots. I'd rather had a robot reading Jeopardy than Katie Couric do it. It was like going to the doctor's office. It was like, "Oh, that is incorrect."
Kevin, that's an idea. Could we actually have a robot host Jeopardy? That's a
robot
idea.
play Jeopardy, or a computer, I guess. And what Watson played Ken Jennings.
Hold on, Kevin. I need you to reference what you mean by quote as a person who quote does this. Like.
Well, I have to be able to say words. Like, what I'm talking about when you get certain guests on that have a last name that's more than about 5 or 6 letters. You're like, "Oh, Kevin, I'm glad you have to pronounce their last name." Well, you have to say it right. You can't be the host of Jeopardy and say known for the Treaty of Versailles. No, that's not it. You have to say it correctly because
you just eliminated 90% of America.
Well, I'm just saying, like, Simon.
Number one.
Christian said he wants Simon Cowell.
Number one, because if I would have said Versace, they would have said, "Ben, you mean Versace? I mean Versace." That's what I mean.
Yes, I can't be the host of Jeopardy and say this Italian designer Versace founded this brand. Excuse me. I expect me to get the question right when you read it wrong.
No. They would have said Ben. They would have said, "Excuse me." I would have said Italian. I said Italian right. Who is it?
That's take 3. We do it every day. This time we've got more to come here on this Tuesday. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network.
Hey, this is Jeff Collins, head football coach at Georgia Tech, and you're listening to 3 and Out with BJ, Ben, and Kevin.
Welcome back, 3 and Out here on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, BJ Bennett, Ben Troop, glad you were with us here all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Of course, the RBC Heritage wrapping up over the weekend, and joining us here as he does each Tuesday on the show. Good friend and host of the Back Nine Boys Golf Show, Rich Stiles, joins us here on 3 and Out. Rich, welcome. How are you?
Doing great, guys.
Hey, appreciate you coming on. Stuart Sink wins the RBC Heritage. Excellent golfer, but 47 years old. Given the technology, given the all the things we've seen golfers do, Bryson DeChambeau trying to hit the ball 10 miles, and the commitment to working out and health regimens and all that. How impressive is it that a 47-year-old went out and dominated the RBC Heritage?
An old standpoint and an old guy standpoint, Stuart is considered to be in that bubble where you're not supposed to win. But Stuart did a wonderful job, played with a 27-year-old in the final round and paired up with him, and Stuart just kept his cool. I mean, he's had a resurgence of joy, I think, playing. I think he's more comfortable playing with his son on the bag, and it's rejuvenated their relationship, and they get to bond. And I think he's just relaxed and just enjoys the game better, and he is driving the ball great. He made a comment that he said, when I drove the ball in 2000 when I won here, I didn't drive the ball as far as I did today. So the technology and the balls have definitely helped him improve his driving. And he's always had a great iron game, and his putting was on. So, kudos to him, congrats to him, and, third time that he's won at the RBC Heritage.
You mentioned his son caddying for him. How special is that?
It's incredible. I mean, just think for a moment, if you had one of your kids caddying for you in a PGA tournament and you won, or you even placed high. I mean, this is just neat. It's a great relationship. You can see them communicating, and I think that's a big key with a caddy. And his son and him just talk the same language. They understand the yardages, how he wants them. He wants a range. He doesn't necessarily want an exact yardage. So he wants to know it's, 140 to 150 or 145 to 152. And they just sync together.
Now, Rich, I mean, I'm always trying to figure out how these golfers are finding ways to create more revenue generating streams for themselves. And they say they created something else for the most popular players to be able to create more money for themselves with the FedEx Cup, the Google search popularity, the Nielsen brand exposure, G rating, MVP index, Meltwater mentions, the impact score, as they're calling it. I mean, obviously the rich keep getting richer, but how good is this for these golfers to be able to generate money, not just from what they're doing when they're out there, but they're kind of like going into these Google searches and mentions and things of that nature.
Well, I think if I understand what you're asking, it's revenue is a key thing, and I mean Stuart's set now until he turns 50 with his wins and sponsorships, and there's probably more of that going to be coming in. The nice thing is that he's basically kept all the money that he's won in the family, and there are more opportunities that are out there. And I just think that, that the future for him is just going to glide into the Champions Tour if that's what he decides to do when he becomes 50 years old.
Rich, we were talking about, obviously, Stuart Sink, his age. What are some of the great performances by guys that are, obviously what you would consider past their prime in terms of golf? We've seen them not very often, but we do see it from time to time. And do you think those are becoming more and more rare?
Yes, I do. I mean, as these young guys come out of college, and right now I'm over at Sea Island where the SEC championship is being played, and you've got these SEC teams with all these young guns, and these guys can hit it 300 yards or farther without having to do protein shakes. And I just think it's an incredible feat for him to be able to play the way that he played all 4 days, and to win for the second time on the PGA Tour. I mean, I think that's just great, and I think it sends kudos. I mean, Sam Snead won when he was, in his late 40s, but there haven't been that many. I mean, Jack Nicklaus won when he was 46. I think in 1986 he won the Masters, and I just think that there are some opportunities that are out there, and these guys can still play. They still want to be competitive, and what a treat for Stewart to be able to do it with his son on the back.
Rich, what have you seen out of Brian Harmon the last couple of weeks? A local golfer who obviously played well at Augusta and had a top 15 on Hilton Head.
Well, Brian's a good golfer. I mean, Brian grew up around that area, so Brian knows the course, and he knows how to read greens. And Brian, even for being a little guy, is gets a lot of distance. He's got a great swing. He's been working with Jack Lumpkin since he's been 12 years old. So he knows how to play, and he's got a great game. He just keeps the ball in play. He's got a great iron game, and I think he's had a couple of good weeks here in the last couple of months, and it shows with a top 20, a top 10. His game is close, so he could be one of those guys that could be gearing up for a win coming up here.
So the Back Nine Boys Golf Show. Jordan is here on 3 and Out. All right, now, Rich, before we step aside, there is a matter of you competing against Christian. He's dead set about you setting up this playoff to see who wins the Masters Championship. I mean, we just had a 47-year-old win on the tour. You got to beat a 27-year-old here at the game of golf. He is dying to set this up. 28, excuse me. Make it happen. Where are we doing this thing?
Well, I think the course is going to be set up at Sea Palms. I think we're going to do it over there. I think we'll definitely decide on a date. I will actually call over there in the next couple of days, and I'll get a date, and we'll get the networks out. Speaking of revenue, Ben, you need to work on getting us a sponsorship from one of the big networks, and you can do that with your poll.
Yep.
Just send them some of your highlight films,
Yep.
and I think that we'll get it set up and we'll play at Sea Palms.
Rich, 2 conditions. All right, 2 conditions.
Wait,
Number 1, no tee times prior to 8:00 in the morning. All right, because that's I'm losing that. If
That's
you're like,
the advantage, though.
yeah, if
That's,
you're like, hey, 6:45, we're the dew treaders. We're going to be out there while the ground's still moist. I'm not here for that. I need the sun to be up for a little bit. So
no problem.
no tee
Yep,
times prior to 8 a.m.
I'll stretch and I'll be ready for you anytime after 8.
Right.
Fact,
Number
I may
2.
Play 18 holes before we play.
Number 2. Cody has to be your caddy, and at least one shot per hole, he gets to tell you what club to use.
Well, then that is not a condition that I accept. Nothing against Cody.
yes.
Nothing against
Cam,
Once you get on the green,
He had guess.
do puddle. How about that, big guy?
How about this? How about this? I mean, I don't know if it's allowed if he doesn't wear the purple and orange. Well, it's actually blue and orange.
Blue and orange, yep.
I think Ben then would have to caddy for you and be able to pull clubs for you. Yeah, I think that would work.
Rich, you sweet summer child. If only you knew the amount of training I have put into Ben Troop on the golf course. He is an expert. He is a savant. He will be reading greens for me. He'll be standing at the edge of a green and saying, Christian, putt to my feet. And I'll putt to his feet, and the ball will then track and fall into the hole. I would be honored if Ben Troop would be on my back. You don't have to carry my bag, man. You can just hang on the cart with me.
Hey, I think Cody's been my producer on the Back Nine Boys for the past several years. He's been listening to all of the interviews that all these people have been doing for
Rich,
us.
I do a show with Cody too, and he zones out half the time. I don't want to hear that.
Why are you trying to talk over me? What is that for?
I know,
okay.
yeah,
Okay. All right. Just don't talk about backswing, old man. All right.
Rich, we appreciate the
Don't
time.
try to cut this off, Kevin.
I am. Okay.
Listen. This is a wrestling match now. All right. I'm coming for you, Rich.
It is far from a wrestling match, believe me.
I still got my money.
Do you say this ain't even a
Rich.
match? Okay, no, let's take a consensus because I think everybody's against me on this one. You're going with Rich.
Yeah.
Cody, I
will.
know you're going with Rich. BJ, who you going with?
Rich.
All right. All right. All right. That's
It's the only
fine.
lot. Why not ask Ben?
That's fine.
Ben?
Because Ben's on my. I would hope you're with me, Ben.
Of course, listen. At the
And then
end of
after
the day,
we
listen,
do the golf
Christian.
thing, I would
I'm gonna
like
have
to
on. I mean, I don't
racquetball
know
with you.
what. I don't know what Rich gonna
I
be
will
wearing, but I will be. I will be wearing
to a
Versace.
game of 15.
Hold on. I think Ben wins with me. Rich has now asked me to play racquetball. Rich, I will never play racquetball. I can promise you that. If you want to play shuffleboard, I'm here for some shuffleboard. But I will never play racquetball.
Rich, a lot of excuses
That is-
coming from Christian's
that is-
side of the coin there. That's all I got to say.
That is not even a man's game, shuffleboard.
Oh,
Oh, why did
okay. That's all right. We'll get you out there. I'll smoke you on them shuffleboard courts. You don't want
Rich,
that.
Rich, we appreciate the time, man. We'll talk to you again soon. Thanks so much.
All right, it's going to be a pleasure to beat Mr. Cross.
Oh yeah, I agree. I agree. And again, I know Christian is hyping up Ben as his caddy. I see Ben more as a.
Ben's not my caddy.
I'm saying, but I see Ben more as a Christian probably shouldn't have hit it over there kind of guy. Like that.
No,
That's what I think. Ben was.
Ben is my life coach. Ben is my spiritual leader. All right, out there on the course amongst the pines.
BJ, see, your leadership is paying off. I get to lead. I get to lead Christian because Kevin obviously led you and you led me. Said no one ever except me.
I'm just amazed at all of the golf experts. Suddenly, Rich knows the game. He understands the game. He's played the game. Christian, apparently, he's going to play 18 before y'all play. He's got a clear advantage here, man.
No, I have a clear advantage. It's called youth. He doesn't stand a chance.
He has one
Zero
called. He has one
whatsoever.
called skill. I mean, it is what it is. We'll come back. We've got more to come. 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. It is 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin, BJ, and Ben, glad you are with us here on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. We'll have the Braves and the Yankees coming up 5:20 with pregame coverage. First pitch at 6:35 from the Bronx this evening. Kevin Marshall, FCS Radio Nation, will join us coming up at the top of the last hours. The FCS playoffs, BJ, begin this weekend.
Yep, you'll have VMI representing the Southern Conference. The SoCon only getting one team in with Mercer's loss over the weekend. So the Southern Conference is going to have VMI making their debut. Their debut in the playoffs. They have never been in the FCS playoffs before, and been a heck of a challenge as they take on a James Madison team that is one of the national seeds, one of the premier FCS programs. But it's been a signature year for VMI to make it this far and a chance to compete for a national championship.
I mean, BJ, I mean, it's a year to first. I mean, VMI making their debut in the FCS playoffs, in the program history. You look at what Coastal Carolina did this year, in the Sun Belt. I mean, certain teams really took advantage of the fact that they had these highlight-type seasons. So shout out to the VMI boys, for which, to me, BJ, you got some usual suspects, in this FCS bracket. But VMI, to me, is the most dangerous because they're the new guys on the block, but they play some big-time football.
A lot going on in the world of sports. And, of course, obviously we'll, like everyone, wait to see what the verdict of the Derek Chauvin trial is. They're expecting a verdict, I guess, any minute, BJ and Ben. And once we know that, I guess we will pass that along whichever way it goes.
And yeah, hoping for justice. It's obviously been a very difficult time. You're continuing to pray for the Floyd family, the community, the country, and this is you have a country that's anxiously awaiting this verdict. Just so much emotion, so much frustration, so much concern, just a lot on the line. And Ben, Black Lives Matter. That's something that we're more and more aware of every single day. But this is a difficult time, a trying time, and I think all of our perspectives continue to be shaped.
Absolutely. I mean, everybody's on the edge. I mean, like I said, I mean, I'm not comparing the two. I mean, in my lifetime, I mean, when I was a young kid in the 5th grade, I mean, you had the O.J. Simpson trial that was going on. Then, I mean, you fast forward, you got the Trayvon Martin. Everybody was waiting to see it. Now you talking about the George Floyd, trial. I mean, may he rest in peace, and I do send condolences to his family. But it just shows, BJ, that it's a world thing. It's a nation thing, not just an individual thing. If it affects one of us, it affects all of us. I mean, I'm waiting like everybody else is. I'm nervous either way because, like I said, when it comes to situations like this, if you black and brown in this country, man, faith could be restored in you when you talk about the justice system, or it could be another slap in the face when you talk about maybe, we got some more work to do. But either way, man, I mean, I'm just waiting on the verdict. I'm trying not to sway one way or the next, man. But yeah, this is going to be impactful throughout the nation, no matter what it is.
And again, we'll wait and see what happens here. They had said it was going to be around 4:30 or so. I think we're continuing to wait to see what it's going to be and when they make that decision. So BJ, we everybody waits, and as Ben said, it was kind of in that sense just like OJ, where everybody stopped for that time to see what the verdict was going to be. I remember I was in school and we stopped class and turned it on to watch what was going to happen there in school. So this certainly much bigger than that moment, I believe, as well. So we await to see what the verdict's going to be when they read it. And I know everybody's trying to get this at the same time. So I'm guessing this may take a few minutes longer to get it all set up and ready to go before they read what the decision is.
And Ben, as you mentioned, the impact, going to be widespread. You're obviously going to see it, socially. You're going to see it, across politics. You very well may see a response across sports, as we've seen. And I think that's probably on the horizon, obviously in the near future. So I agree with what you said. I think the impact of this is going to be significant historically, and then also currently across, various platforms as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you guys have been in sports radio a lot longer than me. I mean, I know it wasn't like this many years ago, but I think what happens is, I mean, we Americans, we're people. This is what we do for a living. Us trying to not avoid what goes on in life. I think it just shows that good humanity is trying to show its her beautiful face when you talk about a situation like this. Nobody wins in a situation like this. No matter what the verdict is, no one wins. There will be, it's gonna be cheering on one side, it's gonna be not cheering on the other side, but nobody wins. But at the end of the day, man, this is about the justice system. This is about the judicial system. This is about people's lives. This is about what it says to certain people in this country when it comes to justice. I mean, so I just think that I, appreciate you guys for even bringing this up. Because like I said, trying to act as if, I ain't had knots in my stomach all day, I have. I mean, to me, George Floyd feels like a family member. So when you know how I can't speak for every black person in America, but I speak for a lot of black people when I say these type of things are very, very detrimental because, University of Florida can't save me. Former NFL player can't save me. Who I used to be or what I'm doing can't save me. And I just think that it's what it says more than what the verdict is. So it's what it says to the people that's listening. Everybody will be waiting. Like Kevin, I was in the 5th grade when the O.J. Simpson trial came. I was graduating on that day. My mom came to watch me walk across the stage to then, she was in college at the time. So I never ever thought these type of situations would come up again. But as I said, man, I mean, these things are polarizing. I will be waiting and, I'm hoping for the best, but, preparing for whatever.
And again, we will see when that announcement. I'm trying to eyeball a TV across the way from me. So we are between now and 5 o'clock, they said. So we'll see when that comes out here in the next 18 minutes or so here this afternoon as we await the jury to I guess get back in the courtroom and read the verdict as it comes out. So we sit and we wait, and I feel like we'll take a break. We'll go a few minutes early here. We'll come back and we'll take you to the top of the 5 o'clock hour. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you along here on 3 and Out, all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, BJ Bennett, Ben Troop. Glad you are with us here on this Tuesday. We'll have the Braves and Yankees coming up for you at 5:20 with our pregame coverage. We'll look to chat with Kevin Marshall, FCS Radio Nation, coming up at the top of next hour's college football FCS playoffs begin this weekend as well. But the Braves, no Acuna tonight, maybe tomorrow in the lineup. So a little bit different roster coming up for the Braves this evening as they get ready to take on the Yankees here in the Bronx this evening.
Yeah, it should be interesting. Ben, I wanted to ask you, how have you seen kind of the role of athletes in professional sports change as it pertains to social justice, social awareness, and what's kind of the next evolution, I guess, in your mind? What's next on the horizon, and how do you see the role of the athlete in today's society as we await, obviously, the verdict of the trial here?
Oh man, LeBron James did more for that than anybody I've ever seen, because I mean he's the first superstar to do it. Like, not be afraid to do it. You saw what the Player Coalition did in the National Football League. You saw what guys like Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields did at the collegiate level. I see unity, BJ. I see all sports saying, look, everybody don't got the same platform. Everybody don't got the same voice or influence. But when we speak together, everybody listens. I see that becoming the norm because, Michael Eric Dyson said it. Look, you're gonna have enough prestige. You're gonna have enough praise. Some of us gonna have enough money. Make sure you do it for the people who make you who you are. The haves only have it because of the have-nots. That's in life, sports, everything. I just see us utilizing our voices because, understand, nobody wants to do anything alone because they don't want to deal with the blunt of the criticism alone. We can deal with it together. We can deal with it. We can stand right there together and just talk about things that matter in life. People are always saying, well, being you guys only saying this because you guys play sports. No, I'm an American. I just happen to play a sport. I'm a part of this world. Not just here to be here, but here to make it better than I found it. How do I make it better than I found it? Leave it better than I found it? Do something, say something, stand up for something, deal with the blunt of the criticism that comes with it, because I'm doing it for people that look like me and people that don't. I'm doing this for Kevin's kids just like I'm doing it for my kids. I'm doing it for your kid like I do it for mine. I'll do whatever for y'all like I'll do whatever for mine. That's what people don't get. You only doing it because it's yours. I would tell Kevin's kid, don't do that. Same way I tell mine, because I don't separate it, even if they separate me from it. So that's what I see the role of athletes is. What Trevor Lawrence did is what they fear. Dude, just be quiet. You play for Clemson. Shh, nope. You know what I'm saying? Nope. So I appreciate LeBron. And like I told you, BJ, Michael Jordan was just ahead of his time. He didn't know how to do it because he didn't know if people would follow him. LeBron said, I don't need nobody. I'm gonna do it. So I appreciate the contributions and shout out to these ladies, man, because they do way more than we do. They just don't get the recognition we get. It's like we start saying, who's the greatest athlete? They're going to say Tom Brady, LeBron, Serena. Case closed. She won the Wimbledon when she was pregnant. I'm just saying, lead that. So us, elevating these ladies, looking at them as one of us, not less than us, and using our voices collectively.
Absolutely. As we wait and see what happens here with the verdict, expecting an announcement here before the top of the hour, but we shall wait and see what happens. I believe I'm reading some things on Twitter that the jury is in the courtroom, but again, we will see when we get to that. BJ and Ben, we're just in a holding pattern. It looks like at this point.
And I think the whole country obviously is waiting, but beyond that, I think the world is watching, the country is watching, waiting to see what this verdict is, waiting to see what the response from the justice system is going to be. So this is a very important, needless to say, very serious, point in history, not just in American history. And I think globally, Ben, when you think about the impact, when you think about, all that's involved. So as we await a verdict, clearly you have millions of people on edge here waiting for the results.
Yeah. And look, like I said, I mean, I want these type, there are certain things that I just hope that, we can get past when you start talking about these conversations. This, I mean, obviously, I'm on Kevin's looking at the screen. I'm looking on Twitter. This is what Ryan Clark said. Ryan Clark. He said, I hope one day people understand That me loving black people doesn't mean I hate them. Me wanting black people to rise doesn't mean I pray for them to fall. I love y'all. I want to see you rise. I just want y'all to love us too and let us rise with you. That's it. This isn't an anti anything or a pro anything. This is us helping us, wanting the best for us. Period. Point blank. So, I mean, like I said, I did not want a moment like this for my children, like we had when we was kids. But this is the world we live in, and we hoping for the best. And like I said earlier, nobody wins, no matter what the verdict is. So nobody. I remember that, Kevin, when that verdict came in. I mean, everybody, the whole world started just looking at screens. It was crazy, man. And that was that was in the 90s. Here we are, 2021. Yeah,
like 96 or something. I want to say.
And here we are, 2021. So, hey, man, we got to do better. Hopefully, we'll start doing better with this verdict, but we'll see.
And again, we wait and see what happens there in Minnesota this afternoon. As again, a lot of folks have gathered. The camera angle I'm getting is kind of just one stationary. I can't imagine they're going to show anybody potentially in the courtroom. But we wait, BJ, and we see what will happen. They said sometime before 5. We're getting awfully close to that. So we'll try to hang in here on the show before we have to get to the top of the hour news break. But we await and see. I know a lot of, again, pretty much athletes, news, everybody kind of talking about this, wait and see, and what the word will be.
And everything is on pause. I mean, everybody's waiting. And again, this may be something that, the news breaks after our clock runs out here and we have to go to break. But I think, like I said, the world is on edge. The country is waiting. This is a historic point in history. It's going to be a very meaningful verdict, and I think its impact, as we were talking about, obviously is going to be felt a variety of different ways. Profoundly, but I think in sports as well. You're going to see a response moving forward this afternoon, this evening, tonight, moving into the next couple of days. Obviously, as you said, and we've talked about, Kevin, athletes speaking out, athletes having a position, athletes making their feelings clear and protesting or responding in whatever way they see fit. So this is an important moment coming up, and I think you're going to see the impact of this felt for quite some time.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm just waiting. I'm not assuming anything, hoping for the best, preparing for whatever. But like I said, these moments in time just show us that that's what they are. I mean, they make everything stand still. Pandemics, verdicts. I mean, the world has stood still a lot lately. We just hoping that we can, these type of situations bring us closer together, not create more of a division that's already there.
Got again, we're waiting to see what it's going to be in hopefully just a couple of minutes. We only got a couple of minutes till we're up here against a hard break, but which if we get it in before the top of the hour, we will let you know. And certainly if we have to come back after the top of the hour break, we'll let you know what that decision is once it's out there and for everyone to see and hear and consume whatever the verdict's going to be. So we wait. Again, BJ, just like everyone else does, and we'll see what the word is coming out of that jury box. Coming up in the final hour, we'll look to talk with Kevin Marshall, FCS Radio Nation, and we'll have Braves baseball for you coming up at 5:20 here. So we'll be out a little early this afternoon for Braves baseball. Just a 2-game set there in New York against the Yankees. No Ronald Acuna in the lineup tonight. Braves say he's going to be day-to-day, maybe in the lineup tomorrow night. Maybe give him another day off, have him back on Friday when the Braves welcome in the Arizona Diamondbacks back home there in Atlanta. So, again, we wait, and we'll let you know what happens there with that decision in the Derek Chauvin case there in Minnesota. We'll have it probably on the flip side as we're running up against a hard break here in this second hour of the show. But we appreciate Rich Stiles joining us here in hour number 2, talking a little golf with us as well. And BJ, Ben, hopefully we got about 40 seconds left. We'll have something for you top of the final hour there.
Yeah, I would imagine the breaking news is coming and trying to kind of manage our clock. Kevin, I know you are with the time we have and the news that's coming out. But I would imagine, based on some of the preliminary reports we had when the verdict was reached, we will have some breaking news here around the corner at some point shortly.
So we'll step aside. We will come back and we will have the final piece of a 3 and Out for you right around the corner. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. We are streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com on your mobile device with the ESPN app. Welcome back. Final hour of the show, or at least a final segment today, as we lead you up towards Braves baseball. Braves coming up at 5:20 with first pitch tonight, 6:35 this evening. Obviously, waiting breaking news there in Minnesota. We'll keep you up to date as soon as that verdict is announced, BJ and Ben. And we'll try to stay on here as long as we can until we have to lead you up to Braves baseball tonight.
And this could be something that literally happens in the next, in terms of a verdict and in the next couple of segments, a couple of minutes, could be later in the day. I know we're trying to wait for the news. It was initially announced that maybe sometime between 4:30 and 5 o'clock, there would be a verdict in the trial. And I guess as of right now, we have not yet seen that. But to reiterate what we've said a couple of times, I think you have, the world waiting, specifically as it pertains to sports. And we talked about this a little bit, guys, Kevin and Ben. I think you're going to see a strong reaction potentially from the sports world, as we've already seen, what seen for some time with tragically a number of different, just tragedies, including what happened with Ahmaud Arbery. So I think that there's going to be a strong reaction. I think there's going to be unity in terms of the response. And I think, Ben, you are going to see across a number of different platforms a strong response and a lot of people taking a stand and sharing their opinion.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy either way. I'm not trying to say it's gonna be easy for anybody listening to the verdict, because like I said, I mean, when we talk about, I look at America as a family, man, and nobody wins with a family feuds. Nobody does. And in a situation like this, it's like the fact that it's shutting everything down. Everybody's waiting, whether you know about it or don't know about it. Looking forward to it or not looking forward to it. This is just the world that we live in. And, there are things in this world, man, that just needs an overhaul. Things in this world that needs a renovation. Things in this world that needs to stop. And I'm just saying this. If it is a guilty verdict, that's justice. If it is not, I have to live with it either way. And I think that's the crazy part. Having to live with it right, wrong, and different when we shouldn't have to be on edge for the justice system to work the way it was supposed to work.
I'm looking at Christian. He is keeping tabs on this next to me. Is that come say this so I'm not misreading what you're trying to tell me. So they're apparently reading the verdict right now. Christian, what do you have for us?
So he faces charges of second-degree unintentional murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter. Obviously, since I'm talking right now, I can't hear the third one, but he is guilty on the first two counts. I'll update you here in a second on the third. Okay,
so there you have it, at least for the first two. And Christian will come back with the third one. He's standing off to the side so you can hear the audio of what's happening there. So as far as the first two, come back guilty, and they're reading the third charge right now. So that's all I can give you at this moment.
And hopefully there's some semblance of justice here, and you continue to pray for and think about George Floyd and his family, the community. But hopefully you're seeing justice served here this afternoon.
Yeah, I mean I'm happy for George Floyd's family, and it just don't feel like it. The thing is because if I'm being honest, I didn't expect it to go this way. I did not expect this verdict to come out. Not necessarily because of this case, but because of previous ones, because of things I've seen before and heard before. Because I think this comes back to a value system. If you don't feel as though you value, you don't think you value it at all. Not justice system, politics, nothing. But for this to come back as well as it did, I give a lot of credit to these jurors, because they are under a lot of pressure, being away from their family, things of that nature. So we're going to wait on the third one, but it is justice. But sometimes it feels like it's just us sometimes when it comes to stuff like this, because it shouldn't be everybody I'm looking at on the Twitter feed is saying all this stuff. So we'll see how America reacts.
So
go ahead, Christian. Sorry.
No, once again, he faced charges of second-degree unintentional murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter in the 2020 death of George Floyd. He is guilty on all counts, according to the jury, and that was just certified by the judge. And they just asked all the jurors if that was their vote. They all said yes. So I believe we have come to a resolution in this case.
All right, so there you go with the breaking news right there. Guilty on all three counts of I don't want to misread the counts, but guilty on all three counts for Derek Chauvin in that case. Just announced within the last minute. So want to get you up to date. Obviously, the breaking news and the biggest story since about 4:30 this afternoon or so when we
Yes.
were all awaiting this verdict.
And I think to reiterate the point, you just hope this provides some justice. Adds to the perspective. The perspectives that need to change. You continue to pray for the family, for the community, for the nation, and I think Ben, this is something that's gonna powerfully impact a lot of people, not just in Minnesota, not just in the United States, but around the world. And I think when you look back over history, this will be a tragedy that people remember. This will be a verdict that people remember, and I think this impact is going to be wide ranging, obviously, in a lot of ways.
I mean, Trevor Noah said it the best. I mean, we hear a lot of times about we hear the terms bad apples, right? And then people say, "Where are the good apples?" Right? And I believe there are a lot of good apples, but if the tree is rotten, it really doesn't matter. I think what happened today is if it's like a relief, like whew, like it's not like the jury's got it right. They just didn't get it wrong in a sense. That's how I'm feeling, like, man, because I was expecting it to go the other way. It's almost like it shouldn't feel like this. So like I said, man, I have faith in the potential of what America could be, and days like they show me that it could definitely reach those type of heights and reach that level of potential. But I feel relieved for the Floyd family, because whoever his children are or family members are, his life has been on display for the world to see, and the world was waiting. So, like I said, we got a long way to go, but I feel as though we got a better chance of getting that together. And when you understand that just because it doesn't affect you, it still affects you, these type of situations will go away quicker. I mean, I just think that, like I said, this is not anti-police. This is not anti-justice system. This is applauding everybody that had something to do with this case. I was going to live with it either way. Life was going to go on either way. But for a moment in time, man, it feels like, we are treading in the right direction.
So there it is, the breaking news this afternoon there from Minnesota. Again, we rescheduled Kevin Marshall. He'll join us tomorrow. Obviously, with what we expected to be announced in that time frame, just didn't feel like we should have him on today, and we'll have him on tomorrow and talk about the FCS playoffs with him tomorrow on the show. So we appreciate Kevin understanding that, obviously, and we'll chat with him tomorrow, same time tomorrow on Wednesday's edition of 3 and Out. So now we transition us to move forward. BJ, Ben, I don't know really how to transition from that, other than we got about 4 minutes, and then we're going to hand you over to the Braves Radio Network for the Braves and Yankees tonight.
Yeah, and we'll see kind of what the response from the sports world is. I would imagine around the country, a lot of relief, a lot of appreciation for justice, and the hope that this can provide some of that. I mean, we've talked about it from a variety of different perspectives, Ben, over the years, what it's like being an athlete. I mean, for guys getting ready to play a game tonight or tomorrow, wow, manage the emotions of this and get ready to play a sport. I mean, what a challenge. I mean, what a very difficult time.
Well, hopefully it puts it in perspective why you're blessed to be in the situation that you're in. It's never, ever going to be about how many points you score or how much notoriety you get. You have a platform to utilize your voice for people who look like you, who don't look like you, to speak up, for people who have been silenced to understand that, look, I mean, it's always going to be bigger than me. Always. And sometimes you got to be, I think Steven Jackson, him and George Floyd was like, they called each other twins. I saw him all on. So it's always bigger than us. Don't think that you get to run away from reality just because your reality has changed. No, your address has changed. Your bank account has changed. The reality is the same, even if you don't feel it like you used to. So, like I said, man, do your part or get out the way, because if you ain't going to utilize your platform for something bigger than yourself, you have wasted the platform you have been given.
Well said. Well said, Ben. And again, we will see how this trickles throughout the sports world here in the coming hours. I'm sure you can guess what a lot of the response is going to be, given the verdict. So I would imagine a lot of excitement, celebration. I guess if that's even an appropriate word, in this situation. But I've seen a lot of tweets from folks we've had on the show and others saying, "Hey, justice is served," and all that move forward. I imagine we'll see a lot of similar thoughts and comments from athletes all across the sports, entertainment landscape, et cetera, in the coming hours here this afternoon and this evening.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'll be a similar response from a wide kind of array of people and perspectives, and again, I do think about the response from sports as it pertains to our show, and kind of how challenging it's been with a number of different issues and tragedies to kind of manage everything, as has been the case for everybody. But hopefully some justice that can be meaningful. And again, we just continue to pray for the family and everybody and the country at large.
Well said.
Absolutely. We'll have more for you tomorrow here on 3 and Out, all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Again, we'll chat with Kevin Marshall, FCS Radio Nation, tomorrow on the show. Braves and Yankees coming your way next, and a first of 2 games there in New York City starting this evening. No Ronald Acuna tonight. Ozzie Albies back in the lineup, though, and first pitch 6:35. It's 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com. Hit us up on Twitter as well, at Pigskin Radio, at Pigskin Radio. Catch the archive, YouTube, Spotify, and more.